Welcome. It's the year 2005 in June. You just woke up and it's 5 or 6 in the morning. You see this bump on your screen. And then you regret waking up. What is a bump? Usually a commercial or announcement. Why was it created? I have zero clue as a kid in 2015. But now that I'm older, definitely a ploy to scare kids. Apparently in 2020 they updated it to be more friendly. You know, to this day, I still don't understand why Cartoon Network and Adult Swim were on the same channel. But today's not about Adult Swim. Today is about Cartoon Network in 2004. My oh my. It's 7 o'clock. You decided to skip 5 or 6 because normally Adult Swim always scared you. So you woke up at 7 and were ready to watch. Now, I would say growing up and looking back at this, very, very different compared to how it was before. I mean, back then you really didn't think about it. You didn't think about the things that were shown to you. Logically, in time, you just, thought it was another show. They would go from showing Christian ads to, after a while, showing some anime that had incest. Why the fuck did they do this?
We look like legendary heroes? Huh?
What's wrong?
Your outfit. It's kinda... can't you just do something about it?
To be fair, we didn't get much of an upgrade in 2017 because we got this annoying show.
Any other slice slammers in here? Didn't think so.
Yeah, that show did not age well, but hey, we had some classics. Every once in a while, they would re-show Johnny Bravo. We got Grim and Evil, which is pretty much Billy and Mandy. Foster Home of Imaginary Friends, which was a banger. Some Justice League, Ed, Ned and Eddie, the Powerpuff Girls, and many more classics. This is a reminder, we're talking about the year 2004, not the awful reboots that they bring out nowadays. Man, if you could take me back in time, I'd go back. In the morning, they usually showed the weird stuff, and most of the time, Cartoon Network's timeline ended up aligning with the timeline of kids in school. So around the time of 2 to 3, that's when they would start banging off, showing repeats of shows, but different episodes every time. So, you're probably wondering how I ended up managing to get a lot of this footage. Well, thanks to the archive of YouTube and archive.com, I ended up finding a bunch of archives from 2004, which ranged from mini commercials and just content in general that you've watched whenever you were watching Cartoon Network. With a lot of the YouTube videos, a lot of them had a little bit of changes, and that's just to kind of bypass copyrights. I will link them in the description, but I'm a little bit tedious about it, and that's just because I don't want to get involved in copyright stuff. So if you want to take a dive into 2004, you most certainly can. Please do it after the video. With a lot of the content that's been replaced, most of it kind of just consists of big blockbuster shows. Shows like Dexter or shows like Courage, which is shown here. In favor, they're replaced with pilot episodes, which those pilot episodes are actually a little bit better. They give you that feel of 2004 while still kind of retaining the history of what once was Cartoon Network in 2004. Now, what all happened in the year 2004? Well, the release of the Nintendo DS came out. Popular films like Shrek 2 and Spider-Man 2 came out. The election of the unfortunate George W. Bush came out.
Says fool me once. Shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
Same-sex marriage was put into the US. Facebook was launched, and the Olympics held in Athens. Now, growing up as a kid, a lot of these things, didn't really hit you, and they weren't really noticeable at that time. That's because most of the time you're focused on school or cable TV. Now, the day and age that we live in, cable TV is kind of non existent, but in a sense, if you watch cable TV nowadays, you will most certainly regret it. Now, I'm going to provide a video that's going to be a little bit fast, but it takes you through the chronological history of how Cartoon Network was. And if you want to, you can always do a slower speed to kind of watch it progress. But in my defense, honestly, it would be best just to watch it in full speed just to see how awful it gets in time. I will be crediting the original person that posted this video, but of course, with copyright stuff, I ended up cutting out a lot of stuff, so you can notice some cuts here and there just because of, the copyright endeavors and YouTube's policy. But overall, I mean, it's a pretty good history that kind of shows you the growth compared to how it was before. I think that they had, in a sense, more fun, and they attained to a certain generation of kids that had the humor of adults, which in a sense it does make sense. But with a lot of the kids that grew up, they grew up on that, and therefore they've kind of, in a sense, swayed in that direction. I could be wrong. Everybody's different. I'm a 2002 baby, so I don't really know, the differences. But growing up in my era, it was great until I'd say about 2010, 2011. Then it just became.
Great Barrier Reef!
A quality cartoon.
Mr. Squidward, come look! Don't that look appetizing? Good, sir.
Yeah, that's kind of the best way to summarize the way that Cartoon Network was. I mean, throughout the years, they brought a couple of good shows, and at some point, they would just randomly axe them. And then as time progressed, they tried to reboot them, which was a mistake, but they tried. You would think that they would probably put a little bit more effort and look back and see what was great compared to what it is now, but they really didn't do that. And I felt like a lot of the more modern shows that are coming out nowadays are kind of just brain rot. Best way to explain it. I mean the same kind of brain rot that you get from watching TikTok for about, I don't know, 5 hours, give or take, which to be honest, you shouldn't be watching that for 5 hours, but some people do. Everybody's got their own personal preference in a sense, I guess. In my defense, I just wasn't a fan of it. Back then, it was amazing. It had quality and it had diverse sections. Now, yes, you could say, yo, you're a fucking weeaboo. And you're kind of right in that aspect. But I mean, if all else fails, I mean, they put variety in it in the morning, and throughout the afternoon, it would attain to customer base that just got out of school, which was pretty genius in that aspect. Throughout the years, they still kind of kept that motto, but then it just kind of turned into slop. And again, these are, my opinions. You can put yours in the comments below and how you feel. But throughout the years, I felt like it just kind of turned into slop. just like this video. But hey, overall, Cartoon Network in 2004 was pretty bussin'. And if you want to take a look back, I will also be dropping down all of the links for different types of videos. And by the time this video comes out in the future, it might not still be there. But you always have the archive.net, and you can go through the history of Cartoon Network as well to see kind of, how the shows ran back in the days. A lot of these I will be putting in the description, but overall, it's a very aesthetic moment in time. That's kind of the best way to explain it. The 2004 aesthetic, in a sense, was the best. Because not only did they show you the stuff that was in 1999, but they also kind of attended to more current shows. And they kind of bounced off of it. I would say in about 2011 or maybe 12, they had a moment where they started to show classic cartoons. And at that point, you've kind of already lost your viewership. You kind of lost what you had. And now we're back into 2025 where a lot of the shows have been rebooted. Very poorly. But that's pretty much it. That's the history of Cartoon Network in 2004 slash kind of the history in general of 2004. If you want to, you can scroll down to the description and it will end up showing you some things that you can look at. And some of it might be there, some of it might be removed by now, who knows. With the way that YouTube's going, anything is possible. But overall, I hope you liked this video, and it was a pretty fun experience to go down. And in general, being up at 4 in the morning and randomly deciding to click on a YouTube video definitely gave me an experience that I will never forget. And an experience that kind of, in a sense, took me back to whenever Cartoon Network used to be goated, in a sense, where they had good shows and they kept repetition. At some points, even showing good shows like, I guess it's a little bit base, but regular show. And you would not think that they would get away with the things that they said back then. But they definitely did.
You pissed me off.
But overall, it was a good year. And if you look back on it, I'd say it's probably the best. I could be wrong. Put your thoughts in the comments and let me know how you feel. Catch you guys in the next video. Much love from a new era. No longer the Saku era. The era of Zen.